Happy New Year and welcome to our New Year's Day special for 2025, brought to you by GeneralsJoes Reborn.com. I am your host, Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostik80, and I'm joined on this first episode of the year by the talented artist Adam, Snitches Get Stitches Riches, Irish legend and collaborator on some amazing Total toy books, Paddy Total Action Lennon, and my awesome regular co-host on the Full Force Weekly and host of Articulated Points YouTube channel, Patrick Notpicard Stewart. On this special episode, we will be looking forward to what 2025 has in store for us by picking our top 3 most anticipated G.I. Joe related things. So what is it, Pat?
It's the Full Force New Year's Day special.
Woohoo! There you go. Hello again, guys, for a millionth time now, I think. I'm doing another New Year's Day special. Looking forward to 2025. How is everybody? We'll start with Adam.
That's my New Year's.
Am I gonna have to CGI that in there?
Yeah. It's 2025. It's a whole new world. I'm so excited. I can't believe we made it.
Well, we're here, and I'm not going to say the bit that rhymes with that. Paddy, how are you doing, buddy?
Fine. Managed to change my jumper since our last recording.
Nice.
Not my underwear though.
Oh, good. So, if you could at some point hold that up to the camera, your underwear, just to show us the skid marks.
Classified skid marks.
Confirmed. And of course, Pat, how are you doing, my good man?
Doing just fine, actually. Feeling much more awake with this later in the day recording.
Yeah, full disclosure, it ain't 2025 right now as we record this. But we're pretending it is. So,
but Adam already said we made it, so hopefully
we're here.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, we have no clue. That's dark, isn't it? Imagine if I'm like, well, I can't post. I'll just have to edit out whoever doesn't make it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, show this to my family if I don't make it to 25. He was so excited he was gonna be there.
I'll just censor it. I'll just put a black space in the way and just have a beep the entire time that person's talking. God, that would really be dark, wouldn't it? That's awful. Anyway, Happy New Year. Right then, we are talking what we're looking to the most in 2025. We're going to go like top 3s again. So let's get on with that, shall we? Explosion. Yes, we are looking forward to 2025 with our top 3s, and we will start, I believe, with Pat.
Okay, so mine, if you watch the Christmas special that we did, probably is no surprise, because what I am looking forward to most is the Mobat with O-ring figures.
Ooh. Yeah, we're talking O-ring.
Yeah, I'm really enthused about what they've done so far with these. Slaughter's arms were a little weird to me, but overall, I really loved the color that they gave him. And I'm just really curious to see how this works out. So that's my number 3.
I was going to ask you guys about Slaughter's arms, because they've got that, like, I want to say, do you remember the 25th, first ever 25th releases of figures? And we had like Roadblock and Gung Ho with that sort of really round shoulders sort of situation going on. That kind of looks like what's happening with the Sarge in this O-ring figure. Is that what you're talking about, Pat, in terms of weird arms?
Yeah, and it inhibits his ability for him to fully raise his arms. Like, he can do about that much, and that's it. And if you look back at the old instructions for the sculptors from the vintage era, they were specifically told not to do that so that the figure would have a full range of motion. So it doesn't really fit with the rest of the vintage O-ring stuff, which is what I'm looking for. So I wasn't crazy about that change to the figure. But, overall, I like the colors. I thought that it was worthwhile. So that was part of the reason why I picked the Zartan Zorana set as my choice for last year. And hopefully, some things are a little more Zartan and Zorana like in the future with some of the stuff coming from Hasbro's O-ring G.I. Joe figures.
Yeah, so at the moment, I think it looks like the listing states Mobat Prime with General Hawk. So what are your kind of expectations regarding old Hawky in there?
Oh, I'm totally expecting a Hawk version 2. We'll see if he's a blonde or brown-haired Hawk. You know, I expect it to be brown hair.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, they could do something kind of weird like that. But yeah, cool. Good shout. And also in terms of the size of Prime as a Mobat, that's gonna be probably a bigger one. That's gonna be on the larger side, isn't it, than some of the other ones? Do you think?
I would expect that. I would expect them to try to scale it a little bit to Megatron, but then you kind of have. Doesn't Soundwave tower over them? I haven't actually had them next to each other.
Soundwave is pretty tall compared to Megatron. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I imagine that it's hard enough to figure out how to make an Optimus Prime out of a Mobat. That they'll probably.
I don't have a Mobat, but I do have a Z-Force battle tank and a Megatron Hiss tank here. Do you want to do a quick comparison?
Yeah, let's do a quick. Yeah, go grab them and show us on the screen. What you mean, Paddy, is you've got a better version of the Mobat.
Well, while we're waiting for Paddy to get those, I'll just go ahead and put it out there for the listeners now. If by some chance somebody wants this transfer crap and just wants to sell me the figures, hit me up.
That'll be Paddy, won't it?
It may be, but that...
Depends. Okay, so here we have the epitome of palatoy engineering, the Z-Force battle tank.
Lovely stuff.
And here we have a Megatron Hiss. If I can get it over here.
A Smegatron Hiss.
So the battle tank is a bit longer.
Yeah.
But not noticeably longer. If you can see there.
It's because so I'm looking at it in terms of the tread.
And the Hiss tank is taller.
I was looking at it in terms of the treads.
They're pretty equivalent in terms of length. The Mobat the battle tank, is wider, but lower to the ground. So there's probably about the same amount of mass in there, because I assume the Mobat that comes with Hawk is not going to have like a battery pack or anything. I doubt it's going to be battery powered. So they're probably more or less in around the same.
Cool.
I am expecting it to be an Optimus Prime with Mobat parts hanging off of his back.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
100%. He'll even and a massive gun with a huge barrel. Or just sticking out of his chest like Warpath or something. Yeah, that's really cool though. Good shout there, Pat, on that one. What about you guys? Are you excited for these? We'll start with Adam. I know you just said you want the figures, but yeah. What I mean, are you really excited for a V2 General Hawk, or do you think there's going to be anything different there?
Not really, if I'm honest. I mean, if they find some way to significantly alter it so that it feels different, then sure. But I mean, if it's just a modern re-release like some of the others have been, then like, how excited could you really be? I mean, you're not going to improve on perfection.
True.
Here's a
fine, Adam. You can have mine, Adam. We'll set it up again.
Well, here's a fun thought. We uncovered quite a while back now. I remember us talking about that I think it was General Hawk V2, that there was a variant that didn't have the knife on the boot. Is that right?
I actually think that one I came to the feeling that it is an error, that it was not a legitimate anything that they were intending to make, but it was weird. I did an articulated points on it. Somebody had posted one, so I thought, well, that looks odd, because you could tell that they hadn't swapped the legs, because the camo pattern was the correct camo pattern for the left leg. Right. And then so I went to eBay, and there was one there for $20. Buy it now. So I bought it and I received it, and I kind of took it apart and checked it out on articulated points, and it's weird, but I think what it boils down to is that the part was capable of going on the left leg, and it should not have been. And then the way the camo looks, it looks like it didn't fit in the plate properly either for it to be sprayed, but yet it happened on more than one of them. So pretty weird, but very hard to find.
I can't remember, though. I kind of want to say that it was on the control art, that it didn't show the knife on the boot. Like it wasn't something that was added after the fact.
I think you're right. I think you're right on the turnaround that you said. Yeah.
So if that's the case, then all right. I mean, it's extremely minor, but like for example, if they did something like that with Hawk, at least I would feel like there was something there to give it some lore and maybe justify its existence beyond just being a straight re-release. Or make him blonde, but I don't think they're going to do that. But there has to be something like that for me. Otherwise, there's just not enough meat on the bone for that. And obviously, as far as the Transformer crossover stuff goes, just not interested.
Hurled into the
Brilliant.
sun, we know.
Awesome. Well, because you love the Transformers collabs so much, Adam, Paddy is now going to talk to us about what he's looking forward to most in 2025.
Yay.
And what is that, Paddy?
My number three was more Transformers crossovers. So yeah, the rumor is obviously we're getting the Mobat and Hawk. I think honestly they should just do one a year ad infinitum, and just have that as a way that Hasbro does an O-ring every year. I would love to see if they would actually try a Haslab Transformers collab crossover. And I think probably what I would pick for that would be Starscream Night Raven. It'd be big enough. It'd be big enough to justify being a Haslab because you're not going to do that at retail. Starscream's, kind of a primary character. And obviously Starscream has been a Night Raven before in some of the Devil's Due crossovers. So it's not a complete curveball. So that's what I would like them to see in 2025 would be a Haslab Night Raven Sky Striker, Starscream.
This is gonna lead into a different discussion now because I have to say that I was listening to Triple Takeover, I think it was, or it might have been one of Sixo's interviews. Either way, Sixo was interviewing somebody, and it was a designer on, I forget the name now, one of the designers on the Transformers G.I. Joe collabs, and they were talking about how why that maybe my Beachcomber wasn't chosen for like the characters, and obviously the obvious answer is they were trying to go for iconic characters, all that kind of stuff. But he mentioned outright, you've got repaints. It's likely that we'll see these in the future redone with like different colors and different characters and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's still very likely that we'll see like a Beachcomber, etc., for the Ore Strike or the Eco Striker. I think it's very likely that we'll see that kind of stuff happen. But in terms of Haslabs, I think this is a new conversation we can have now. I'm going to say I want the G.I. Joe HQ Metroplex as a Haslab.
That would have been my second choice.
Because that you don't have to throw scale out the window a little bit. Because if it's bigger than everything, great. If it's massively bigger than everything, great. But as long as it's not the same size as like the His Tank Megatron, you're all right. Like any size bigger than everything else in the line makes sense. And the HQ would be great. Like how much fun would that be? Like it would be incredible. So I think
HQ Fort Max might make more sense because he's drawn similarly scaled but bigger to the Transformers in the comics, but not like massive like Metroplex is.
Yeah, but also Deco. So the HQ is literally Metroplex Deco, but Fort Max has got blue and red and other bits and pieces in. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a so for me, I think from a Deco perspective and iconic. I think Metroplex for me personally is where I would expect them to fall with it, because I think even though Transformers fans would be like knowing fully well who Fort Max is, if you want to get the big amount of people involved, I think Metroplex is probably more iconic in that sense. That's arguable, I'd say. But yeah, like that for me. What about you guys? Like Pat, I know you're stewing over there thinking about some cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I think I've said it before that if I had a Haslab of Transformers G.I. Joe, I would just want a straight up G1 Optimus Prime that is capable of sitting a couple of Joes in the cab. That's what I would want. I would want it scaled, large enough to fit those figures and to look about right with them. That's kind of what I would like out of a Haslab. Not a Transformer that turns into a G.I. Joe vehicle necessarily. Although it would be cool if maybe it came with something that was, it's like an extra. So it'd be like Optimus, but a different something in there. I have no idea. Like I would want some creativity out of it to rationalize the crossover a little bit.
I know what you need.
What's that?
Swamp Masher that transforms into Roller. Basically, is Roller's a Swamp Masher that comes out the back of Prime.
Something like that would be fun. Yeah.
Everyone's
something
yes,
like that.
We need the Swamp Masher to come out the back of Optimus Prime.
What they should really do is take one of the really terrible G.I. Joe vehicles and turn it into a transformer, like the Badger or something, and be like, here you go, here's your next one. It's an awful vehicle.
Coastal Defender. It's basically just a box anyway. Yeah, exactly.
It's the G.I. Joe Devastator that transforms into Devastator. So it'd be like the tiny little Cobra robot thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Tiny Devastator. Hold me closer, Tiny Devastator. And I'm not. Do I even ask you, Adam, or are you sitting there going, "I do not care. Do not."
Actually, well, so I don't care about most of this, but you've actually given me kind of an epiphany. You know, obviously, I don't want any more of these at all. But when you started talking about how big an HQ could be and what you could do with that and stuff, I was like, you know what? I think I might have just found the way to justify my dream item. We need a Haslab broadcast energy transmitter transformer, and then I can just glue it as the BET and forget it even has the capability. Because I feel like if you really think about it, like, it's silver, it's already kind of big and blocky, it's got treads. Like, I feel like the shape of it really is like perfect for what you would kind of need to transform into something.
Do you know what the funny thing about that comment is you wouldn't need to glue it at all. It just don't transform it. But you're so adamant against it that you're like, no, nobody.
I don't even want a chance of conversion.
The seams aren't perfect. You can just tell. There's just these little, you know.
Have you considered, Adam, that you're just
mate? That isn't transformed properly.
It is
transformed properly.
You know they come with instructions.
There's shoulder
right?
tabs that hold the back end in place.
It's transformed properly. There's just these little seams. I can just tell.
I'm gonna go grab mine.
And I don't want to be putting a figure in and have this happen. Like, it needs to be perfect.
It would be if you transformed it correctly. But no, I get that. I get your feelings on the whole situation. But broadcast energy transmitter would be amazing. And now now we've got to think about.
Look at that, waving around, no movement.
Pat just went and got his actual. Pat just went and got his triple T, the actual one, not the
vintage.
He stuck an Autobot sticker on it.
A couple of tabs, right here. These tabs.
Huh? What are these things? Oh, look at that.
Oh, is it fixed now?
No, but it helps. I can still tell. You look at this and I'm like, I know something's wonky here.
Don't worry, guys. Adam's got plenty of things to look forward to in this 2025. And that is you next, actually, buddy. And take us through your number 3, please. And thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to tell you real quick, too, before I get to that. That reminds me, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this thing. I think it was 1995, after G.I. Joe had ended. There was this thing that Kenner did called Power Spark Welder. Do you know what that is?
Yeah,
they had a G.I. Joe helicopter. And so these toys were made with this, like, you got like a welding gun. It was this black plastic thing that you, like, basically, like, glued the seams with. But then the whole play feature was you, like, threw it at a wall and it smashed apart. But I was so excited to get a new G.I. Joe vehicle post O-ring, I crazy glued it together, and it was beautiful. And that's what I'm going to do with my BET Haslab one day. Anyway, okay, here we go. I digress, and then I'm going to digress again. I'm going to give an honorable mention real quick, and that would be Classified Globulus. He's on Once a Man Cobra Commander's box, so I feel like that's more of a win than an if. And I can't wait to see how they execute that because, you know, they're already doing Cobra-La, and the deluxe figures offer lots of possibility. Anyway, here we go. Number 3. My number 3 is Classified Heavy Duty for a lot of reasons, but I guess first of all, just because it further opens the door to more 90s Joes, and I can't wait to see a lot of those. I want Bullhorn and Captain Gridiron and Sub-Zero and all that stuff. But I think the thing I'm most excited about with Heavy Duty is just that he's had a lot of versions over the years, particularly in the early 2000s and during Rise of Cobra. I think he's had, I want to say 16 figures already, which is crazy for sort of a third tier, like, you know, fake roadblock. But he's had a lot of figures, and none of them to date until now have really been like a direct homage to version 1. None of them have come with his whole like weapons loadout. To me, like that is the whole character basically. Like if you don't have that, you know, what separates Heavy Duty from Roadblock? So the 2016 figure sort of emulated the version 1 in colors, but was still obviously lacking. So I think this one is kind of fulfilling my childhood dreams of just, you know, getting that character back, but, you know, evolved and even more upgraded and just fully loaded out and just with this crazy arsenal. And I think he's just going to be an amazing figure in hand. And for me, this is really what the deluxe price point was made for, was for stuff like this. So I'm very excited to have a proper version 1 Heavy Duty after, I don't even know what it's been now, 35 years or something crazy.
Oh, stop with the years, guys.
Yeah.
Just make me feel old every single time.
Yeah.
What was the other one the other day? It was like 40 years or something. And I was like, why did you say that? Why did you say the big 40 number? Anyway, yes, mate, Heavy Duty looks incredible. And I've got to tell you, that classified mech suit thing they've added on it, just absolutely get in me right now. That thing is incredible. Incredible. Yeah. And I interviewed Lenny and Tony very recently. Plug. Yep. If you haven't seen that, go check it out right now. Ignore this. Delete this video from from the YouTube and just go and watch that interview. But we talked about Heavy Duty and loads of little things that I wasn't aware of. They threw in there, like the was it like the name of the classical music, the piece that they put on the side of the commando bazooka and the kind of commando rocket launcher, and the what was the other thing? Oh, the audio frequency that's on the back is from. I was like, oh, this is so nice. These little touches I just find really, I don't know, just give you so many more little cool things to like. For me, Pat, this will resonate with you. These kind of things, when they add them, I could just imagine in the wiki all those footnotes at the bottom of the Heavy Duty wiki, just being like, and if you look at this, and if you look at it, that kind of stuff that we love with the Transformers wiki. This is what I love about adding these elements to like new stuff, like Zorana's arm tattoo on the O-ring figure, like but this is like a more modern, more present, more new sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I love that.
Yeah, Lenny's ideation that he talked about in your interview was really interesting too. He talked about like how would you hold something that heavy, and he was looking at like how snare drummers wear their stuff and how he had a backpack and like that they added a tampon to the back of his hat, and it was like really cool little minutia that I feel like kind of kicks that figure up into something special.
I'm already sold on it. I think for one, he looks very, very close to that vintage as the figure alone.
Yep.
He's got that look, everything, all the signposts and everything. The hat is sick. I love the Saved by the Bell tampon on the thing. That is so good. I'm enamored by it, and that mech suit is disgusting, absolutely mental. Anyway, what do you guys think, Pat?
This is a good one. I'm actually excited to see this one and to have it in hand and to look at it. I'm hoping that the missiles work out better than Metalhead's did. They probably will not.
No.
But non-F maybe will come through again for us on those, like with some inexpensive additional parts for him. But yeah, I think that the addition of the small guns at the top, also totally unrealistic.
Of course.
But, awesome. Yeah. So the battle desk is looking good.
I know. I called it the Battle Desk Cabinet Launcher when I spoke to them on the interview, which went down well. Paddy, are you a fan of hit and run? What? Are you a fan of hit and run? Just randomly.
I'm a fan of hit and run. Not as big as Justin Bell, but I'm a fan of hit and run.
Who doesn't love hit and run?
I have fond memories of the vintage Heavy Duty. I generally don't go for the kind of deluxe price point figures because I honestly don't often think they have the value in them. But this guy would be one if I saw him, probably would pick him up. But I'm not going to go out of my way for it, like this show. If I see it on my YouTube, if it comes up on my YouTube homepage, I click. But I don't search for it.
Oh my god, that's brilliant.
Sidebar question: if Heavy Duty were to come with an animal companion, what do you think it would be?
Well, if he's got to carry it, an elephant. But if it's more likely something that he would. I don't know. That's a good shout.
I think Heavy Duty would be a dog guy. He'd probably have like a dog.
Like a
I'm
big
not sure
one.
what breed. Like a big one, like a big dog. Like
Big
a
the ones that look like they've been at the
like
gym.
that.
The ones that look like they've been working out. Like they've literally got
Yeah,
human,
like a pit, like a pit bull,
muscle.
like Thing has, like
I was
Rosie
thinking
has, but, you know,
he's such a big guy. He needs something that's like unexpected.
Mini schnauzer.
He needs like one of those cat carriers that has like the metal door open. It's like at the bottom of the missile desk launcher, you know, and he got like a little cat in there.
Yes.
How sweet.
A little kitten would be
Yeah,
amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
have
that
you
would
ever
be
seen
pretty
those
awesome.
Japanese? Have you ever seen those Japanese toys that are like cats and cat carriers, and they come
Yes.
with all these mech weapons?
And
You should bring
yeah,
one of them.
or they transform. But yeah, the mech ones are great. The little mech ones with the cats, they're insane. So yeah, I agree. I think that's a great shout, Adam. I think a cat. There needs to be, obviously, I'm sure Spearhead and Max will happen at some point, but a domesticated kitten animal companion would be absolutely incredible, especially for a big, burly, huge character. I think that'd be funny as heck. Love it. Right. Brilliant shout. Heavy Duty, hit and run, whatever his name is. Amazing stuff. And that's a great shout, Adam, for number 3. I have to agree with you. I can't wait to get that in hand. I'm so excited for Heavy Duty. For me, though, and I'll stay in the classified realm, my most I'm most excited for now, especially after seeing leaked images of this particular character, is Crystal Ball. Now, what we know so far about this one is that it's a Walmart exclusive, kind of in that Night Force theme, which makes a lot of sense, you know. And I think if anyone had said to me at any point, like, Crystal Ball's coming, I would have immediately assumed it was going to be in that kind of format because of this whole Night Force mystical sort of weird sort of sci-fi kind of addition to the brand. The leaks that we've seen of the body look absolutely incredible. Like, I love the upgrade. I love the new kind of design. It stays very close to the vintage. At the same time, you've got elements that morph out of it, mainly with that long jacket kind of addition, but like just looks so good. And obviously how his vest worked originally, where the gold kind of like detail on the front sort of is like the connective part of the vest, and now instead that design is on a shirt underneath the jacket, I think really works really well. It's like trying to work that into into a more like 6-inch figure sort of design, I think would have been a nightmare. So I think what they did there was really good. And from what we can tell from that head sculpt as well, looks awesome. So I'm going to have to say on that one, Crystal Ball is one even though we've kind of seen it, I am really looking forward to the official images, the official promo stuff, or the render, for example. That's what I'm really looking forward to in 2025. And Crystal Ball. What about you, Adam, with Crystal Ball?
Oh, I love Crystal Ball, so I think he's going to be awesome. I'm curious about if they're going to do a lenticular shield, or if they're going to emulate that in some other way. I mean, they're going to have to allude to it, right? Like, it's too iconic of an accessory not to. I'm also curious what they're going to do with the DIJ printing on his face. Is he going to have like some kind of hypnotic, like swirly eyeballs or something? Or is he just, you know, like I feel like there's a lot of room to do interesting stuff with this. So I'm mostly just curious about that. Just how are they going to execute some of the stranger elements of the character? Also, just as a note to anyone listening, you're never going to see this figure at retail because it's a Walmart exclusive. So you better pre-order it.
100%. As soon as we know when that's coming out, get online, guys. I'm not even kidding. Yeah, and Paddy, what are your thoughts on Crystal Ball? Is he one of those ones for you that are just too wacky, or are you into this?
I'll be honest with you guys, I couldn't give two shits about that Near Dark Lost Boys cosplayer.
I knew that was coming. I genuinely thought Paddy's not going to be into this one, and he's going to have something to say about it. That was pretty
just
harsh.
Really don't like the character or the concept, and like, Lenny, I love you, man, but just throw it back in the bin. Like, that should have been like the last classified figure. That should have been the gravestone classified figure. It's not needed. It's not wanted. It's not beloved. let him go back to hanging out with Kiefer Sutherland, where he belongs.
Wow, Paddy
that.
not pulling his punches on Crystal Ball there.
You know what's funny about Crystal Ball? When I was a kid, there was a comic store that I would go to, and that's where I got a lot of my Joes that I'd missed, and they'd have them in like the little clear cases you get trading cards in. And most of them were mind you, this is like the mid '90s. Most of them were in the like $5 to $15 range, which was like still kind of expensive for a loose figure. Then Crystal Ball was $1.25. He was the only one. I remember like
Too much.
There's just no love for Crystal Ball ever. I don't know what it was about that figure
that's what the classified figure should cost, and maybe I'll buy them.
It's a new price point just for Crystal Ball.
It's a new price point just for Crystal Ball. Let's talk about new price points for Snake Eyes and the Polar Bear. No, new price point for Crystal Ball, practically free.
Amazing. Well, that less on that. I don't want to hear about any more horrible words about Crystal Ball. An amazing figure. Pat, what are you thinking about Crystal Ball?
They can't be horrible words about a not amazing figure. No, I'm kidding. No, I think the original suffered from just having one accessory. Like whenever you look at that figure on the shelves with everything else next to it, it comes with the shield. Yeah, it's lenticular, it's cool, but give him a backpack. Give him.
He also suffered from being Pash. Let's be honest.
What?
He also suffered from being.
Well. I don't know. I'm fine with Crystal Ball. Brian Kaufman has warmed me up to Crystal Ball over the years. His enthusiasm has caught on to me for Crystal Ball to some degree. But I do think that Crystal Ball would have benefited from having a weapon of some kind other than his shield, which is supposed to be his weapon, where he hypnotizes people. And yeah, that's fun, but it's fun for clearly a very smaller portion of the G.I. Joe collecting community at the time.
Apparently he's like $1.25 worth of fun.
Well,
yeah.
We fantasized about what Heavy Duty's animal would be. What should Crystal Ball's weapon have been?
Oh, it would have to be like a really like ornamental sort of dagger. I think would have been like quite on point for him because or like the. You know how like the kind of the blood sort of sacrifice stuff, but not that really. But like when you cut your hand to kind of like do the Bond sort of thing that you see, that trope that you see in movies all the time. I think like some sort of dagger like that would have been quite cool. But again, very ornamental, very fancy. And then I think I can't really see him with a gun. So he'd have to have some like proper Rasputin style weapons, wouldn't he?
I've got an accessory for him, but I feel like it would almost make him more lame. I think he needed a flute so he could be like a snake charmer.
Yeah, that would be terrible. That would be
maybe a little snake in a wicker basket,
or maybe a flute launcher. So
it could be like the one that Splinter came with, where the flute separates and has a hidden knife inside.
Oh, nice. It was a walking stick, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just sorry. For a second there, I thought I'd forgotten an accessory that Splinter came with a flute. I'm like, I don't remember. I don't remember him coming with a musical instrument in that range. Stab.
Potentially, right? A vial of Rohypnol for when the hypnosis doesn't work. When his hypno shield doesn't work, he can just roofie you.
His Rohypno shield. Amazing. Oh my goodness me. This has gone off the rails big time.
I hope Lenny still has time to update this figure after all these great ideas we've just given.
Yeah. I will say right now, I'm very much looking forward to Crystal Ball, even if Paddy couldn't give two fecks. Anyway, let's get into our number twos and we'll swing right back round to you, Pat. We're in our number twos. Gross.
Well, I'm going to have to give an honorable mention here because I did have another one that I was going to put into my top three, but now I can't because it arrived yesterday. So it didn't make it into my 2024 list, and it can't go into my 2025 list because I have it now, and that's the Action Force comics that we've already talked about on the Christmas episode. They actually arrived yesterday. So thank you very much for that. Great job, guys. Thank you, Paddy, and of course, Brian, for for making me capable of actually sitting down and enjoying those. So I'm excited for that. But that's the honorable mention. The thing that I'm looking forward to came to me because I'm just kind of excited about it, and that is the next Wordburglar album.
I like it.
It's an all G.I. Joe Wordburglar album.
Yeah.
So, his second G.I. Joe album, I'm looking forward to that. We were you were actually on stage. I was just in the audience enjoying it. But the concert at Assembly Required, what was that, a month and a half ago?
30 years ago, I think now it feels like. But yeah, it was a while back.
Who's bringing up time now? No, it hasn't been that long. It's been a little more than a month.
Yeah.
But it's just so much fun that I'm looking forward to this album, and I think he actually treated us to one of the new tracks off of it live. So that was enjoyable. So I know I already at least like one track off of it, and I'm just the rest.
He's actually got. He's actually. I think the idea is to put a few of the other ones on there as well that are kind of in the ether. Like I think Letter from Snake Eyes Part 4, which I produced for him. Okay. I get to drive it. It's might be on there as well. I suppose it's all up in the air at the moment until what he decides. But yeah, I think I'm going to be working with him a little bit more on it as well. So I'm excited.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Can't wait. Well, yeah, that's awesome. That's a great shout. We're probably Pat and I are probably not the only people on here that listen to Wordburglar. Adam, are you a fan?
Yeah, you know what's funny about that? I remember being on the His Tank forums like a zillion years ago when Escape from Cobra Island was coming out, and I'm sure a lot of people are like this, like novelty music. I guess you're just immediately like whatever, and especially because like there's G.I. Joe fans and then there's like us, where it's like it's gotten a little crazy, and so I was like, this is gonna be some casual and it's gonna be hokey and whatever, and then I listened to it and I was like, this is pretty fucking awesome. Like, so I think I am looking forward to it. I think it's going to be cool.
Yeah. When people meet Sean, Wordburglar, for the first time and they actually talk to him about stuff, you realize just how knowledgeable he is on these things. Like, for example, Pat will be able to account for this one. I produced a track for him called Cybertronica. If you haven't heard it, check it out. Every line is a Transformer name, but it makes sense in context with what he's saying, and also what that character is about. Or it's genius. It is genius level rap. And I remember when he sent me back the first pass vocal on it, right? And he sent me, it was kind of like just the vocal that he'd recorded, the verses and the track that I produced for him. Send it back to me, and I listened to it, and I was like, my mouth was on the floor. I was like, damn, like I liked this track as a beat before. You've just made it an actual song, and it's unreal. Like it is just next level. It was the same with the Visionaries track we did together, like the Spectral Mic one. If you haven't checked that out, check that out. That's amazing too. And that again, just next level, knowledgeable. Like he just, even if he doesn't know a lot about something, he will research the crap out of it. And not just that, but like he's such a comic nerd. He knows comics because he used to work at a quite a big comic store in Toronto, I believe, for years. And he is just like a bevy of knowledge when that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to speak to Wordburglar, anyone on the show, in the comments, in watching, like just be warned, the guy knows his stuff. And I think that's really funny that you should mention that, Adam, as like, I know what you mean though. Like you there are fans, and then there are people that have been doing just ridiculous stuff with it, and yeah, and going into stupid depth. I'm looking at you, Pat, in regards to the the details of everything. But yeah, I get that. What about you, Paddy? Are you a Wordburglar fan?
Well, I considered Welcome to Cobra Island to be up there with The Mouse and the Mask in terms of the subgenre of rap albums about things I like. So
wow,
I'm looking forward to another album. Yeah, I think it's up there. I think
That's a
honestly
banger as
it
well.
is.
Yeah.
It is a banger as well. But so Welcome to Cobra Island is a real favorite of mine. So anything Wordburglar puts out, I listen to. So
Brilliant. Yeah, again, massive. We all love Wordburglar. Massive shout out to him, and great shout, Pat, on that one. Next up, then, is Paddy.
Right, so I'm going to be positive about something classified for once. It's kind of become apparent in the last year. In the last year, we've entered the version 3 era of classified. We started getting versions 3 and 4 of a lot of characters. But you know who we haven't got yet since like the earliest days of classified? It's Destro. And you know, they're really digging into the Iron Grenadiers. With you know at the moment, you know, you've had Metalhead, you've had the Iron Grenadier, you've had Scrap Iron, so I think it's time for classified IG Destro, and I have a feeling we're probably going to see him soon, probably 2025. I would not be surprised if we saw him and maybe the Despoiler as well by the end of this year. Just because, you know, that seems to be the team they're going with there. They're getting the rest of these guys out there, so can't wait to see what they do with that figure in classified. Like I said, I don't have any information that he's coming. I'm just expecting that it would make sense that 2025 is the year we get him.
Yeah.
Unless Chris wants to tell me something different. I don't know. I haven't listened to your I haven't listened to your latest listings video yet. So
2026. 2026. No, we don't know. But no, that is a great shout. And it's really funny that we're getting every Iron Grenadier possible before we get the leader of the Iron Grenadiers. And I think the Despoiler's a great shout. It just showed up in 311 of the.
And it's been in the Skybound books as well. So.
Oh, maybe it was the Skybound. No, I'm thinking. Sorry, I just remember seeing. Yeah, it has been in Skybound very recently, but it was in A Real American Hero. I think the last issue I was reading. Spoiler alert. And yeah, I kind of feel like it's. And it was regular. Guys. It was version 1 Destro in it as well, which is hilarious. It's like, oh come on, he should be in his version 2 gear in that.
The vintage figure is one of my favorite figures. I think it's just like a really, really great redesign of that character. So I would like to see that in classified, and I do think it's time, and I expect we'll see it in the next 12 to 18 months.
I think I agree with you. I think it's definitely up there. It has to happen at some point. Pat, are you a fan?
Oh yeah, for sure. This is a great redesign of Destro. I think that it just fits his character very well, and then it also plays into the team of the Iron Grenadiers. It's a little bit difficult to pin down the exact style of the Iron Grenadiers. There's lots of snaps and layers to things, and some use of bright color there with Voltar. You know, it's not like they are a sub team that is joined together by all one color on every single figure, but yet you put them together and they look really cohesive, and Destro's clearly the leader. I just kind of wonder, you know, would you want to see that crazy alternate head, Paddy? The earlier pre-production one, if you've seen that.
I don't think I have seen it, Pat.
Oh, we'll have to send you a picture. It's pretty awful.
Is it the one that looks like Crichton from Red Dwarf?
Yes, it is.
That's the one I'm thinking of, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Like what they did with the 50th anniversary Destro, the angular head. Yeah, no, I didn't.
Oh, it's
not a big fan of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they could do with this though to make it like obviously, you know, the 25th one they finally made it so that the sword can come out of the sheath, which was important to me. That's just one of the things that drove me crazy on the original figure was just him having the sheath and that fixed chain always in hand. But yeah, there's a lot that they can do with this. I even wonder, you know, what they do with the bottom. I can't imagine there ever being a demon, but you also don't want to make it.
But also, I kind of want them to do a demon. That's another favorite vehicle of mine.
Haslab demon.
Haslab demon.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's amazing. Also, yeah, we haven't really mentioned it yet, but the cape element is also really interesting, and I wonder if it's going to be something we've already seen with the Twilight Guard, or if it's going to be something much more specifically designed to look like the vintage figure, if you know what I'm getting at. So that'll be interesting to see where they go with that, if they're just going to reuse that, or if they're going to... Because this is the thing, I'll look at stuff in the classified series, and think, oh, that'll be reused for that later on. And then they bring out a new version, or a different version of that particular item. Like it's happened so many times with bows, or like with with some sort of rifle. You think, oh yeah, that'll be used in someone else, and then like it doesn't come out with them, and you're like, what?
Remember that club head that we all thought was going to be used for a Headman figure and never was.
Never was. The Justin Bell head, yeah.
Yes.
The Justin Bell Dojo head, yeah, absolutely. It's been plenty of time. We can reveal that now, can't we? I think we have revealed that on an episode in the past with Justin on it, actually. But yeah, that's amazing. Adam, IG fan?
Yeah. I think the reason you haven't seen any more Destros in Classified, though, is because they already made the best Destro you possibly could make, Profit Director. So it's all
right.
I
thought you were going to say version 1 for some reason, and you're like, I forgot there was 2 versions of Destro out already.
No, and I think instead of doing the spoiler, they should just make a pimp Cadillac for Profit Director to ride in, and then we're all set.
There's that WWE Cadillac hanging around at the moment on store shelves here. I wonder if I should buy one of them for.
I saw somebody
do it.
I think it was a Lowell Surprise car. I saw somebody do a custom up that has like a jacuzzi in the back of it. It's got all these chrome parts on it. I was like, man, that looks so. It has like leopard print interior. I was like, this is perfect.
That's amazing.
But I digress. Yes, I am excited for Iron Grenadier Destro. How can you have the whole sub team and not him? And we've already got 3 of them confirmed now, or
like 4? if we get Voltar before him, I'll actually be annoyed because I think you need Destro before you go Voltar. Personal opinion, and of course you've got Darklon coming now in the next wave. You know,
Darklon, of course, yeah.
I'll say I hope though that if they do it, one thing I really want is he needs to have a chrome helmet. I don't want matte paint because Super 7 is doing it on like they did that Red Jackal figure has chrome, so I know it can be done.
Cobra Commander has a chrome mask, so totally agree with you.
Yeah, so I think that would be the game changer for me to really interest me in him. But yeah, of course, I mean, who doesn't love Destro?
So not including Scrap Iron, which I know what you're saying, Paddy, when you say Scrap Iron and that, because obviously he developed weapons for Mars in his file card and everything. But in terms of like a direct Iron Grenadiers sort of release so far in Classified, we've got Metalhead, we've got Darklon coming, but there already. We've got the Iron Grenadier and the Iron Grenadier Battle Android Trooper. So was that 4? Is that everyone at the moment? And then, of course, we're waiting for Voltar, Annihilators, Targats, and Destro, effectively.
And Wild Boar.
Nullifier, Wild Boar, and Undertow. Yeah.
And Targat.
Said Target. So those, that's it. There's a good amount of cool figures to still come with Iron Grenadiers as well, and a more retro-inspired Iron Grenadier as well, which I'm pretty sure is gonna happen.
That should be on the cards.
Yeah, because like we've got the Winter Jacket one, and that is cute, and I like it, and it homages that that club release. But I feel like we do need a retro version.
On that note, I know we've talked before about like old design trends carrying forward or whatever. I really hope if they do that they don't make a Cobra Commander version 3 and then use those parts for that again. Iron Grenadier needs a distinct body.
Yeah. I would imagine that would be the case. Yeah.
There's other characters too, like Sergeant Major Duncan. It could be
of course,
made into a Classified for sure.
Sergeant Major, yeah, indeed. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. And then doesn't really cover, because we've talked about the Iron Grenadier Bat very briefly there, but that doesn't cover the new stuff that they could incorporate into the Iron Grenadiers, which you could see like them doing a Baroness. You could see them doing, something along those lines where another character that you didn't really think of before has been pushed into the Iron Grenadiers in a sense.
Or Armada finally, Mistress Armada.
Oh, good shout.
Like,
good shout.
Never made a figure of her, so
yeah, Mistress Armada is a good shout. And in terms of vehicles, I mean, the despoiler makes sense for Destro, but then everything else kind of gets a little bit hokey because obviously Darklon isn't coming with his vehicle, so it's very unlikely we'll see an Evader. Could you see them doing something like, I don't know, like a Iron Grenadier Snake Armor or something in the future, just to kind of give them some stuff?
No. But I would like to have an AGP.
Oh, AGP
Yeah,
would be
ATP would
amazing.
work. Yeah.
That's small enough, and I feel like you could, that's not necessarily.
You could probably do that for in around the Trouble Bubble price point as well.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's too big for a deluxe figure, but I think you could get away with that for under $100. So that'd be cool.
Cool. Okay. Anyway, good shout on that one, Paddy. Now it's Adam next for number 2s. Take it away, mate.
My number 2, which we've already seen, is Classified Slice and Dice.
Yes.
I love Ninja Force, and we have already had a couple of Ninja Force releases. We had one very early in the line with Storm Shadow, and we've had Nunchuck, and so I think it's just carrying on a sub team that they're not really treating like a sub team, which is kind of interesting. Which I guess is sort of how it was treated in 25th too. So it's like, you get all these figures through these very random releases spread over a long period of time, but hey, whatever, I'll take it. So also We've seen the Night Creeper version 2 head included with Night Creeper. So I feel like, it might be a slow drip, but I think eventually we're going to get them all. And so, more Ninja Force the better. So I'm excited to add these to the collection. I think they look really promising from what we've seen thus far.
Yeah. Awesome. And I've got to agree on that one. And it's also 90s vibes that you're giving us as well, because again, this is kind of falls into that sort of era in a way, doesn't it? With these characters, again, that's well in your wheelhouse.
Big time. Yeah. Well, and I feel like for a long time that was, especially, it's funny, like, and I know this for a fact because I know them. The people that were the designers on the 25th line are mostly like 10 years older than me. And so I think that they were largely homaging the stuff that was their peak childhood years, which was like, 82 to 90. And that's why you didn't really start to see any of the post-90 stuff come out until it started to come through the club and FSS and stuff, when they'd kind of exhausted every other figure. I think now...
When they were scraping the bottom of the barrel, you mean?
Sure. But now I think you're seeing...
That's not my opinion, by the way. That is the opinion of apparently the majority of the G.I. Joe fandom.
Sure,
us post 1991 people are on the ground.
But, now I think that the guys that are currently working on the line, like Lenny, are pretty close in age to me. And I think because of that, you're seeing a lot more love for that era that was our childhood now, and I do, it also makes you wonder, like, 5-10 years from now, are we going to be seeing Sergeant Savage figures when whatever the next generation of designers comes up is? But anyway,
what made you think of Sergeant Savage? Slice and Dice, mate. I've got to say, I love what we're seeing on those leaked images. Love what we're seeing on those leaked. Like, I'm no hyperbole going on here. Just absolutely think they have smashed those out of the park. The secondaries kind of like really separate them. I love that kind of really intricate, weird new dragon mask that's going on Dice. I think that's a really nice addition to, like, you've got all of the classic vintage looking elements for both of them, and then you've got that mask, and it's just like brilliant, absolutely brilliant. What are your thoughts on those anyway? For having, obviously, you've seen those, Adam.
Of course, and also as a sidebar, I thought it was absolutely hilarious that Lenny had to pretend like the whole internet hadn't seen all these things that he couldn't talk about in the interview you did. I'm always torn on stuff like that because I feel like it's really cool, but at the same time, I'm like, are they going to eventually try and do retro card versions of these? Because if they are, like, just sell them as separate figures,
100%. You will see everything retroed.
It's the same thing I felt about like the Night Creeper version 2 head, where I'm like, why even include this if you're probably going to end up making a version 2 figure? So I don't know if it's just like a pre-paint workaround for something else, but I mean, who doesn't love added value? Like, I'm probably not going to display them with it, but it's cool. Like, and I do think it's cool that a lot of the, like, I guess ninja figures have had some sort of like the Oni mask that came with the blue ninjas and stuff, and now these, like, I feel like you can build out like a cool little squad of masks, So yeah, who doesn't love that?
I've got to say, like, with that particular 2-pack, well, I think I was talking to you about this, Pat, on the weekly. I see it almost as an opportunity to kind of army build these a little bit. So, like, you've got your classic slice and dice heads, right? Which just that's slice and dice, and then you could maybe take some of the secondaries out of the picture. You can give the one, like you could have a couple with the dragon help, that kind of mask. You could have a couple with the other kind of more intricate mask that Slice comes with, which has got, like, again, like that Oni mask kind of vibe. And you've got like almost like a little troop building option with these guys, and more like, more kind of classic, I would say, Red Ninjas, especially with the slice body. I know obviously the deco is going to be absolutely insane, and that's going to separate it completely because those images we've been seeing do not have full deco on them. So I'm sure we're going to get that black splash sort of deco on there as well. But yeah, they look phenomenal. I'm not surprised you're looking forward to those. That's a really cool set. What about you guys? Pat, are you a fan of this Slice and Dice pack, even though we've kind of talked about it with the weekly?
I'm looking forward to them revisiting Ninja Force more, but as far as the additions that they've put in here, as I said before, I was hoping that they would lean a little bit more into the Red Ninja and a Night Creeper, like a former Night Creeper, former Red Ninja working together kind of thing. But they're all right. I think that as far as Ninja Force stuff goes, I may even be looking forward to seeing something like Ginzu to see how they would change him from just looking like Storm Shadow in new colors. You know, what would you do with that character to make him look new? I didn't really need these guys to look new as much as I needed him to, if that makes sense.
Right. And Paddy, are you a fan of the 2-pack?
You know me, I'm a sucker for ninjas, so I'm excited for this one too.
Yeah, I've heard you suck on ninjas quite a lot. Where are you going? See ya. Paddy's off. See ya, mate. It's like your camera just went, I'm done, mate. I'm out of here. See you later.
Are the corals on the side going to move with him when he does?
The corals will move with him. Don't worry. What actually for this episode, Paddy? What would you like to be surrounded by?
Coral.
Okay, coral is there. We'll just continue. I've already made the graphic, so yeah, you're right. It's just stick with that what we've got there. Yeah, brilliant shout. Love that Slice and Dice. Very into that as an option. Now I will get into my number 2s now, and basically I'm kind of like, again, I'm staying very close to Skeletron here, in that I'm with Skeletron here. I know it's not the kind of official Joe stuff, but it is obviously adjacent. And what they're doing with the 6-inch figures, I'm so excited for. So I've got some images from the to show on screen, of course, of the 6-inch kind of like pre-production versions that have kind of been on show at Assembly Required very recently, and they look absolutely incredible. Yeah, you got the Weasel pilot with Marco Burns' head sculpt, which is incredible. You've got the Jaya Viper, the Gary Goggles head sculpt. You've got Skeletron in there, which is just a phenomenal friggin' figure. And of course, you've got the Wolf Troopers and the Jungle Troopers and all that kind of the Blood Wolf. So they all look so good. But I'm so excited to get those 6-inch figures kind of done. And I'm going to focus mainly on Skeletron because it is so wild and such a cool update to the original. Like very cool version of Skeletron, because Skeletron's a little bit hokey. I love him, but he's a little goofy. I know Paddy's face there, but I'm obviously a huge fan of the Palace with Skeletron, but there's a lot of charm and cutesy sort of vibes with it, especially with that head and like the big teeth and everything. I love it. But what they have done with the Skeletron version is just the new modern 6-inch version is just incredible. So I can't wait to bring these into the display with the Robo Skulls as well. I'm really excited for that more than anything. But what about you guys? Are any of you guys kind of excited for getting those? Because I know pretty much, I think, are we all in on? Not all in, but are we somewhat getting some of these figures still from Skeletron? Adam?
I'm resigned to the fact that I'm probably going to be a completist.
Totally. Adam?
Yeah, I ordered all of it, and I think that their release schedule thus far is making that feasible. So as long as they have a nice healthy break between each set, I don't see any reason why I won't keep getting all of it either. 10
figures a year is fine.
Yeah. 100
figures. You don't need to put out 50 figures a year. Just like a nice quarterly cycle where you get a couple of figures per quarter, everybody's happy.
So you're not a fan of the Reaction G.I. Joe release schedule from
previously?
previously?
Over the 3 years they were doing them, I bought all of like 4 figures, so that shows you how often I was buying reaction.
Yeah. Pat, did you ever you kept up with the reaction of G.I. Joe figures, didn't you?
Well, I kept up with making my list of G.I. Joe reaction figures that was coming out, but no, I mean it's been difficult. There were so many of them coming out. It was like
so many.
They hit 100 fast, like
Oh yeah,
really fast.
Just on the army builders alone.
Yeah, and that's kind of what broke me. There were just so many army builders that the price and then there has to be a relationship between price and fun, and the army builders were kind of bloating the price and not for me fun. So I kind of trailed off on the reaction stuff, and I still picked up a few of them here and there. And I mean, more than here or there. I think that I probably have half of them. Well, definitely not all.
That makes a nice segue, actually, into our number ones of the year, of what we're most excited for. Because, Pat, you're going next, and it's sort of semi-related to that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Reaction Plus line I'm eager for. And I like the image that you've chosen for it, because it kind of shows that we're not talking about just one figure. We're talking about the idea of the line still. And I'm looking forward to what they come up with. I think that the best offerings here are the twins as well as the bat. When the first wave came out, those 4 at the bottom, I noticed that they were all a solid color figure that was then painted over for all the parts that were painted. But then, and that to me is a little bit concerning, because things don't always look great whenever there's a lot of paint covering up the detail and filling in the sharpness of what has been sculpted. But the twins were then a little bit better, because there is actually 3 colors in use. Now, the heads to me are strange, because they are molded in a flesh tone, but then they are also painted over.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe that's just an attempt to keep the hands the same color as the face, because that'd be easier than trying to make them match, or if that's a little bit of a reaction to how G.I. Joe fans responded to the Ultimates Wave 2 that ended up being a flesh tone.
Right.
Personally, I think at this scale, for a flesh tone face, you don't want to add paint, because again, you end up losing some of the detail in the process of doing that. So yeah, there's some things that I'm hoping are changed. I think the shoulders on the twins were not very sturdy. That was also an issue. But I really am. This is my number one because of what is in here. We finally got the twins in their suits. The bat is a fun figure. And finally getting CoverGirl in blonde is cool. I think that, again, there's some differences I would like across the board. CoverGirl is the one probably that I would like to be way more vintage looking, that's just kind of an element of the line that I would like. But I'm just looking forward to what else is coming, like the things that leaked out of Big Bad Toy Store. Those are figures that I'm looking forward to seeing what they can come up with, looking to see what kind of obscure stuff they managed to get into the line, what they decide to do with some of the core characters that I don't really feel that I need, but maybe they'll come up with an idea that I'm excited about.
Cool. Yeah, and again, well said, really, because I think that kind of covers everything.
I said a lot, so hopefully I said something smart in the process of talking for
Unfortunately, no, nothing smart, but
I'll try again. Here I go.
Yeah, one more time. I think Adam and Paddy, I'm just going to go and speak for you guys here. I think you guys are in the same kind of position with the O-ring. You're both kind of fans of this kind of scale, aren't you? We'll start with you, Adam, on this one.
Yeah, huge fan. It's all just gonna boil down to how it's executed for me. And to piggyback off what Pat was saying about the painted faces, I don't want to say what it was, but I was just looking at some product last night from a toy company that maybe you and I have some affiliation with, and 4-inch, and one figure had a flesh tone painted face and the other was cast, and I found myself thinking the one that was painted looked a lot nicer. But I think the reason for that is because if it's about the material. If it's cast in something that has like a semi-translucent quality, and you see this a lot with NECA, they have to paint the face to really accentuate the detail. I think when you were looking at like 80s O-Ring Joe, because it's cast in a very opaque, probably ABS for the heads, you didn't need to paint them because all the detail really showed through well. So if no light is able to get through, like the nose especially, then I think that they can cast them, and I think that's what they should be doing. But it's all just execution. I think if they can kind of figure out the formula and really nail it and get it to really match what a vintage O-Ring figure looked like, sky's the limit for this line. And yes, I'm very excited, and you'll hear more about that with my number one pick. But yes,
that's true. Yeah,
I do. I'm not blown away by what we actually have yet. I'm more enamored with the thought of what we could possibly get.
Makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The possibility is there to be really good, but they just need to work out those few issues they've had at that first wave.
Yeah.
But I could see it was the same with, they've had a learning curve in a lot of their lines in Super 7.
Yeah.
And their stuff has tended to get better as it went along. Discounting the wave 2 of the Ultimates. So I think by the end of 2025, they'll probably be in a nice sweet spot with that vintage those O-Ring recreations.
I think that's spot on, actually. Yeah, 100%. I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, you talked about leaks before, Pat, but yeah, like Fatal Fluffy, Raymar, Duke, I think, and Serpentor were other ones that kind of crept out there on BBTS.
I tell you what, we do need is that Adam Rich's cover artwork Viper that they were supposed to do with that massive airship. Get that out, individual release,
I would like that. I'm very curious what the status of those is. I don't want to go too far off topic here, but I think that they should not have done that campaign prior to actually having the line out there and established. I think they thought it was going to be the way to segue into it, and I think instead it hadn't found an audience yet. Like, and that's not just on them. You see this quite often, actually. Like Mattel ran this crowdfunding campaign to do this very elaborate WCW entrance way for their wrestling figures, and they hadn't actually come out with any of the WCW figures yet, and it didn't fund. Now for the last 2 years they've been making WCW figures, and now everyone's like, I want that entrance stage. Well, you needed to whet the appetite first. So
they needed to build the hype first.
Yeah,
wait a couple of years, build out that O-Ring line, and then maybe give it another shot. But I definitely would love to see that, because it looked awesome.
Yeah, I would actually, it might be controversial, but I'd like to see that Cobra Mothership make an appearance as well. Like, I think that was so cool. It's such a shame it doesn't exist in more than just the models that they made of it, basically. But again, it's really down to can people afford it, and is it something that people want at the end of the day? And at the first go round, that wasn't the case. So who knows? Maybe they'll. I think
they also picked they also picked a really bad time of year to launch that campaign, because Haslab had just hit.
Well, and segue again. I love all these segues that keep happening by complete accident. But Paddy, your number one thing of 2025, what you're most looking forward to, please take that away. And
yes, so my number one thing of 2025 was what is the next Haslab going to be? Because I'll level with you, I don't buy Haslabs because who has space? But I do love the anticipation of the campaign and seeing the campaign and seeing what they come up with. And and the Rattler was the thing that almost got me this year.
Interesting.
I was inches close, and it's just because the Rattler is a vehicle I really, really like the look of. It's a lovely design, and I thought that the package they were offering for the price they were offering was a really good value. And the way Haslabs are at the moment, G.I. Joe is probably one of the few things that's guaranteed to fund early. There's no waiting around to see if you're going to hit all the unlocks. The G.I. Joe thing is going to blow past the unlocks by the end. And probably well in advance of the end. So it's always exciting to see that and see what they come up with. So I've always really liked to see what the designers are doing and what they've got planned for their Haslabs. And as I said to you, you know it's going to fund. The one thing I would say is on your live stream or your discussion with Lenny and Tony the other day, you were talking about is there scope for a bigger Haslab? You've gone for the Rattler at $350. Is there a $500 Haslab in them?
I just wanted to know the limit of size is what I was asking about.
I actually think that would be a mistake. I think they're at probably the limit of how big people are willing to go for it.
I think they'll push it until. I genuinely think they'll push it until they get the response they don't want. As in
if they were doing them every 18 months, it would be fine to do something bigger at like $500. But they're doing them every 12 months.
Every year, I know.
It's crazy. I think 350 is probably where they've hit their peak. I actually think they need to scale back and do a smaller one before they go bigger again. Like the Transformers Haslabs have been succeeding quite well at the $250 price point.
Yeah.
And they've been doing really well, like lots of numbers. And I think probably that's where they need to go for the next Haslab. It's like a $250 level. So that's kind of a mid-sized vehicle with a few figures. Because that was another thing people said about the Rattler. They were like, it needed another figure. And obviously that would have brought the price point up to near $400.
What about the patches,
so
though? Obviously the patches.
Well, obviously I love the patches. But I think if they did a $250 Haslab that involved 3 figures and was a medium-sized vehicle, it would go gangbusters.
What do you think is going to happen, though? What do you think is going to happen this 2025?
I think they're going to do a hydrofoil.
Well, no, it's going to be Joe. It's not going to be Cobra.
It's going to be Joe? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I don't know. I think a whale would be insane, but it is probably one of the few things... It's probably one of the few things they could do for $500 that would definitely fund.
Yeah.
But yeah, realistically, I would actually love it if they took a year out and kind of said, you know what, it's something smaller this year. I think something like doing a snowcat with like 3 figures or 4 figures that'd be fun. Probably be fine. That because you're not going to get snowcat at retail.
You mean a tiger cat? You mean a tiger cat though, don't you?
No, I actually mean a snowcat because a snowcat with a series of Arctic figures, get them out there as like a set. I think that would be at 250, 270.
You don't want the yellow snow Arctic team. You don't want Blizzard, Frostbite. You don't want those guys.
But see, what you do, Chris, is you do them in their Arctic decos for the Haslab, and then we get them Tiger Force later on.
Yeah, whatever. I just want everything Tiger Force now. What about you guys on that? I kind of know your feelings on Haslabs anyway, but take us through it anyway, Adam.
I just feel like they've lost what made them special.
Don't forget the Rattler broke records. Don't forget.
I know that, and that's why this is going to keep happening. But like when Haslab as a concept started, and you were going to get something like the Sail Barge or Unicron or a Proton Pack, this was a thing that you never ever would have gotten through any other avenue. Even if you still had Toys R Us as a distribution channel, you were never going to get something that big, that elaborate, that expensive. And now instead, it's just become like, this is the avenue with which we sell you each year's premium vehicle, and and it's just like. Maybe that's what their intention was. That was the business model all along, and I misunderstood. But for me, I thought it was like, this is your opportunity to get like something that we have no other avenue to get you. A once in a lifetime thing, like a collection.
I mean, it still feels that way when you look at the Dragonfly and you look at the Hiss Tank. I look at those and I go, yeah, there's no way we'd have got these any other way in this current scenario and what have you. But I get what you're saying, and I'd also throw in there, it's not so much about the size of the vehicle, it's more about the frequency of Haslabs.
Yeah, it's not even.
That takes the special thing away for me, like the frequency of it happening, like
when
all the time.
When you know it's going to be an annual, when you know
Right.
it's going to be an annual cost of $400, the kind of the fun kind of goes out of it.
Well, and I think people keep touting the success of these as if that's an indicator that there's actually a demand for it. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think what you're really looking at is, say, an audience of 20,000 or so addicts, of which I count myself among them, that are experiencing
suffering the fear of missing out.
Yes, it's massive.
They're not. It's not that they want the vehicle; it's that they want to have had the vehicle.
I have to disagree. I am one person on this channel, right? I have my opinion, same as you guys. I want those vehicles. I wanted the Dragonfly. I wanted the Hiss tank. There was no fear of missing out element about it. There might have been for other people or for like you guys or whatever, but 100% there are people that want this, and I'm one of them, and I'm an example of that. That Dragonfly.
But is it 20,000 people, or is it 10,000 and 10,000 people that are just like, oh my god?
That's never going to be known. That's never going to be known. But at the same time, you're saying that you were literally carpet bombing that this is not something that people want. You can't say that when it just broke records. People see these things and they are amazed and they want them. At the same time, should they have them because they can't afford or have the space for them? Different conversation, but you're right.
I'm not saying that people don't want them, Chris. I don't think Adam's saying that. I'm thinking, is it just because that it's become an obligatory annual expense now rather than something?
Well, I agree with that, because I agree with the frequency, too much frequency, and I agree with the it's not as special as it should be. It's not it should be like, with the sail barge, it was like that, and then when was the next Star Wars one? Like it was a long time afterwards, I'm pretty sure, and we weren't getting it regularly. We were getting Haslabs regularly, but not for the same brand. And that does make it more of a special thing. And I agree with you guys on that totally.
Well, and so O-ring G.I. Joe, 3 3/4 inch figures, it was conducive to having a line of vehicles just purely on space. The Ghostbusters Plasma Series Ecto-1 that they just funded genuinely feels special to me because there is no other vehicle in that line. The only other things that they could possibly do that would be at that scale, and I can't even imagine it, would maybe be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man or a Firehouse. But I felt like when I bought that Ecto-1, this is a unique item. This is a once in a lifetime. It had that feeling to me. And now this just feels like, because we've decided that G.I. Joe is 6 inch instead of 3 3/4, in some ways, it almost feels like a punishment, because it's like, even if I actually have the desire to own these things, and I do to an extent, I don't know what to do with them. I can't even imagine that there's a fraction of those 20,000 people that genuinely have that much free space in their home to display all these things properly.
I will also add that from Hasbro's perspective, demand is not. There's no prejudice for the demand. Like the demand isn't different because someone is feeling that they're missing out on something but don't need it but are buying it, compared to someone that wants it, loves it, and wants it in their collection.
They just care that there's no 20,000 of them.
There's no difference. There's no difference to those two people in terms of demand. Like from that perspective, there is no difference, and it doesn't make any difference to them. The demand is the numbers that come back from it. Now, where it kind of gets interesting is how can it continue? Can it maintain that level of demand? I'm saying it like that because, like I'm saying, I'm throwing in people that are feeling like they're missing out on something and want the obligatory feeling of it, and the people that actually really want it. It just doesn't matter. It's like until that drops, you're gonna get this every year, and it's one of those things where it's like, I think there is a demand for it because people want these figures and they want this scale. Like there's definitely like a need for it. Do you know what I mean? Or at least they wouldn't do it otherwise. We wouldn't be getting 2026 listings of this stuff otherwise.
I would be very fascinated to see what would happen if they listed a Haslab vehicle that did not include any figures. Because for me, that really is the draw.
Yeah.
Like I'm
it
buying.
Would not fund.
No.
99% of the reason I'm buying them is for the figures, because it's not even that I don't like the vehicles. They are awesome. They're amazing. I'm no denying that. But like, I don't have a single one on display because I have nowhere to put them. So the figures are really what is the sell for me.
Yeah,
I think you'll get to a point where you'll get to a point where you're holding out for the special vehicle, and you just will stop funding. You'll stop buying the other ones. You're going to wait for that killer vehicle, I think. Was probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that last point Adam made really was it for me, because whenever the thing that convinced me not to back the Rattler, because I did not back it, was Hasbro's presentation for the Rattler, where they showed off all the features, and it's like, well, all those features are on the 4-inch one.
Or on the vintage,
sitting in my house. So I really don't need like
Yeah,
a rattler
but
that
Pat,
takes up
you're
more space
not. You're
and has
not
the
a.
same.
But you're not a fan of the scale.
That's
So,
correct.
so
That's
like
correct.
You're
So-
saying
I thought you were going to say you're not a fan of
every
G.I. Joe.
person that
Let me-
has.
I would like to just finish what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So due to the fact that I'm not really a fan of the scale, the thing that tips it over for me is the figures. Like I've joked many times that the Dragonfly really for me was the Glenda Haslab.
Right.
So I think that that's totally true, and I do kind of think that there's a bubble that keeps getting bigger, and I'm curious to see when it's going to pop. There is a demand for this stuff, but I also, the other thing that occurred to me as the numbers kept on going in for the Rattler was FOMO's weird because, yeah, I feel like everybody else is having a Rattler, but I don't. But at the same time, there's a reassurance there because with some of the earlier Haslab stuff, the numbers were small. It's going to be hard for me to get one of those in the secondary market. The easiest one to get, in theory, on the secondary market is going to be the Rattler because it was made in bigger numbers than everything. So as the numbers got up, my FOMO was actually going down. Like I became more convinced not to buy it as it was becoming more successful with other people, which just kind of told me, you know what? It really is a 6-inch thing that I just don't need it. If they'd included like some awesome figure, Snake Eyes version 3 was in with that thing. You have to know that I would have backed it, right? It wouldn't make any sense, but I would have backed it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying 100%. In terms of the features aspect, though, I mean, I don't really know what else they could really do that doesn't already exist on a Rattler. Now, with and also you know, when you go into the details and the depth of all of that stuff with the design, there's going to be cost constraints and you know, production timing and all that kind of jazz that goes into it, logistics that we're not necessarily privy to. Sometimes we are privy to some of it, but not all of it. So like decisions are made why there isn't other things involved, what have you. But in terms of the thing of you what, mate?
Isn't that weird though that like we're having a project that's supposed to be pie in the sky, and yet we're still cutting it for costs? Like if there was something that was really desired, that was out there that this a dream project, like fulfill the dream to its fullest extent, right? You know, so make it $500. Yeah, but those features are things people want.
Right, but what is lights aren't on your
your
Rattler.
Not. No, you're totally right. There's not really anything I would have done, but you know, I have a Rattler that I like already,
and that's totally cool. And that's that. My point was though the fact that you're coming at this from a different perspective as someone else who is a fan of the classified scale and a fan of, you know, getting the vehicles and Haslabs and all that kind of stuff and that element of it. The two completely different, you know, like viewpoints of this.
Sure, this exactly. Which is why it's successful, and I don't need one. That's what like what's going on.
Right? I also think the choices they make going forward are going to make or break this, because I'll tell you right now, if the one next year is just a Sky Striker for classified, that wouldn't excite me at all.
I don't think we'll see a Sky Striker for a while.
They really have to think about what is that killer project to do to really get me excited, especially if it's going to creep up past the $400 mark.
It's backwards though, because like to me the whole Haslab thing was like Adam was saying, we had this dream thing that we wanted, now it finally can happen, but now it's we have a price point. What can we put in there?
But then it became they decided we're going to have a Haslab team creating Haslabs. So we're going to have a Haslab for every brand for every.
But again,
and it's become a profit center for them.
I agree.
Rather than a dream project, it's become this is our premium vehicle for the year, as Adam said.
The choice you have here,
the Ghostbusters category or the Transformers category.
The choice you have here is less frequency, massive expense, or more frequency, more sustainable expense. That's the choice that you want. When they get the demand that is what they're getting every year, you cannot not do it. There's no way they can go, we're not doing a classified Haslab this year because of those elements that you're talking about.
Because the shareholders won't like it.
Well, with the fans, the fans wouldn't like it. The fans of Classified would be calling out for it because they do. I
honestly don't think the fans would be crazy if the next Haslab came next June, which is probably when it's going to happen. Let's be honest, or if it was next January and it was
the fans on this channel. No, the fans on this channel. No, the fans out there in the community that are buying Classified figures that love Classified. Yes, and I think I feel like. I do feel a little bit in the minority in the group, 100%. But at the same time, when you see the numbers from my perspective, from Hasbro's perspective, from the fandom, whatever, you go, Classified is the leader at the moment. It just is. It leads in numbers, it leads in excitement, it leads in all of that stuff, right? I'm not saying it leads in our opinions of what we like and don't like, because obviously that isn't the case. But it definitely is the leader. When I post a Classified related video, it is immediately 1K, 1 plus 2K, 3K, 4K. If I post, interviews, Classified related ones, 3, 4K. If I do anything else, I will be lucky to get 1,000 views on it. Anything else, O-Ring, Super 7, any interview that isn't Classified related, 100% it will not break 1,000, or it will get close, or it might creep over, just depending on what it is. But if it's Classified, it's through the roof. If I post a listings video, immediately it's crazy. It's straight up there. And when you see that, it's like that's where the demand is. We talked about the demand before, but I think that's it. That's the demand is there.
How permanent do you think that is?
How permanent? I don't know. Ask me that 4 years ago, and I probably wouldn't have said 4 years.
Yeah, I would have definitely said that it was. I probably did say on video a couple of times that I did not see a 6-inch G.I. Joe lasting beyond 4 or 5 waves. I think I said that many times. And so it's just crazy to me how well it has gone over and how successful it's been. So yeah, it's definitely living an existence that I absolutely did not expect.
It does feel to me sometimes like, how when the 4-inch came in and the 12-inch crew, it was difficult.
Yeah.
Like there was a difficult transition for a lot of 12-inch fans to really accept the 4-inch in a weird way.
Yeah.
The 3 3/4 inch. No, and then the same sort of thing with the 12-inch going into modern era 4-inch and stuff like that. There was always that kind of there was like a transition of like, oh, we accept this now. Do you know what I mean? And it kind of took a while. The modern 4-inch.
I would say, Chris, there isn't a G.I. Joe fan out there that hasn't got at least some Classified. Even the people on this call that are not buying everything are buying some. Or
exactly. That just bolsters my point more, because it's like the people that aren't even necessarily into that scale are still buying it. There's proof here on this channel.
Right.
Well. Yeah. I mean, I have always embraced change when it comes to G.I. Joe. There literally is not a single scale G.I. Joe item that I don't have. I was along for the ride for Sergeant Savage, for Extreme, for Sigma 6, for Creo, all of it. But, and I as 6-inch, as a figure, I think works remarkably well just for the detail level. I keep thinking about space. That's really, because for most of us that are kind of like what I was saying about
maybe that's the bubble.
There's collectors,
maybe that's the bubble.
And there's us, I think that the people that are as invested, not even just in G.I. Joe, but just in toy collecting in general, as we are, space is a serious issue. And I mean, I've got just about every Classified release thus far. I want to say it's 198 figures in hand right now. And the figures are not so much of a problem, but the packaging from all the deluxe offerings and the Haslabs and stuff, it's just massive. I mean, it's at this point, I used to say that it was the size of a refrigerator because it was a good visual to give people. It's already twice that size now, legitimately.
2 refrigerators.
It's gotten so big so fast that it's just unsustainable. It's not it's not even the money for me. It's not the frequency. It's all the size. I just don't know how we can keep this up long term. And I think eventually, when you have other people that come to that same conclusion, you're going to see an abundance of Haslabs on the secondary market from people whose wives are like, it's me or this dragonfly, you know? Like, I think it's just, that day is coming, because where do you put it? Like,
was there a space issue with the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 4-inch figures that you have, though?
No, because I'm not really a vehicle collector. Like, I have a very specific
figures.
finite amount of vehicles.
Just figures, though. Was there not a space issue with the hundreds and hundreds of figures, though?
You can pile them in. You can pile them into cabinets, Chris.
Yeah, honestly, no. I mean,
right, but there are a lot. You don't display all of it, though, do you? Right?
No, but I have every Joe ever made from 82 to current, and
which is massive.
Honestly, though, all of them from 82 to 2024, including O-Ring, all of that, just the figures, still does not take up the same footprint that just the current classified collection does. Because you can put them like, you know, they're like toothpicks. You put them all like, you know, straight up in sandwich bags, and you can pack them in like sardines. In one Tupperware, you could probably fit, you know, 300 or 400 figures. So
you're keeping the packaging though for your 4-inch, right?
Well, yeah, but again, they're just card backs, so you can flatten all those and cut the bubbles off. Whereas classified, I'm keeping the boxes unflattened because they.
Why do you keep the boxes not in the same way that you keep the boxes like the card back, like, you know, like take everything out and just flatten them?
Well, because they have trays in them, and I tend to, you know, it's easier with classified to just put the full contents back in the tray where it has a dedicated space with, you know, than it is with O-Ring or modern or 4-inch where you just put it in the sandwich bag or whatever. It's just a space thing. I keep wondering, when's the bubble going to burst? Because it has to at some point. Like, for people that are completionists, and I imagine there's quite a few.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think that's changed a little bit, because I was a completionist, you know, up until like the classified series came out, and then it was just, I'm not buying anything other than this now. You know, I had to make a decision. It was like, you make that decision, and it just seems like a lot of people have sort of made that decision. Where it's like, and that's why there's, you know, like still the demand for it, or still the kind of the need to see it and want it and buy it and so on and so forth.
I'd like to point out that this conversation has turned very negative. Where I started by saying, I'm really looking forward to see what they do with the next Haslab.
I think it's a really good discussion. I think it's definitely one we all have strong opinions on. And we can probably do it another day as well and move on to
the Yojo June monthly. The Yojo June monthly is going to be called that Haslab.
Yeah, well,
where we nitpick the next Haslab announcement, and we just like, what the this Rolling Thunder is way too big. Where am I going to store it?
No, I think it's interesting though. I think it is an interesting one, and like I said, I think we all have very strong opinions on it. And but we can move on, and we'll move on from Haslab and classified to Adam's pick or his number one excited thing of the 2025.
Yeah. So my number one thing piggybacks off Pat's, which is a little more specific. It is a Reaction Plus, or I guess it could also be a Hasbro Transformers crossover, either way, but an O-Ring Pythona figure. I have no reason to think this is actually coming. This is just, you know, wishful thinking on my part. But I feel like, you know, Cobra-La is in the air for whatever reason. And I feel like the odds are probably better now than they have been in a long time. The main reason I'm really excited about this, though, aside from the fact that just obviously I love JJ the movie, is that throughout all the different iterations of Joe over the last 37 years now or whatever, we've had a almost complete O-Ring set, an almost complete modern 4-inch set, and we're, you know, inching towards an almost complete classified set. But to date, somehow, no one form factor has managed to get the entire core cast into one scale for the movie, which is really frustrating to me because I want to display them all. So, obviously, I think that, you know, O-Ring is what was coming out when the movie came out. That's sort of where my nostalgia is tied to the movie. And, you know, I've got nearly 300 Cobra-La Royal Guard figures. So, like, I would really love to have Pythona to complete that set specifically. And I'm going to obviously I want her in all the other scales too, but that's the one I really want. And I feel like the odds are getting better and better, you know, just over time now. You know, it took us forever to finally get a big lob O-Ring figure, but I feel like, you know, the window has reopened for Pythona, and I'm just fingers crossed. And also, if Super 7 is the one that does it, I know how they love a good repaint. you can do a yellow redeco to have it look like the European Missions comic. So I think that it's got to happen at some point. Like, I think this has been on my wish list.
Or
following on from what the club did, where the club just took that Rise of Cobra Scarlet and did her as Pythona. You could do the O-ring Pythona and do her as O-ring Rise of Cobra Scarlet.
Sure. I have a hunch we're never going to see another Rise of Cobra toy.
that was like when someone explains their family tree to you, and you're like, I lost you at brother's sister's auntie or something. Like I'm lost there. But yeah, that's amazing.
I'm just saying, just retro, bring it back. But I also think that if she is not on the shortlist for Super 7's Reaction Plus line, they do not know what they're doing. Like, she should be something. She should be a figure that's out in the first 2 years of that line.
Agreed.
Yeah, that seems like such an anchor. If you want to get people into that line and collecting and excited, it's like, how can you not? You know.
Mm-hmm.
He said something though in an interview. Brian Flynn said something in an interview with Chris that sticks with me regarding this one, and it was the fact that he mentioned that once he goes into G.I. Joe the movie, he wants to stay in G.I. Joe the movie for a little while. And I think that marketing-wise, because there's kind of like a just word-of-mouth marketing that happens across, the YouTube channels, the toy industry stuff, just some of the stuff that people can get excited about, which I do think the Haslabs serve that purpose too. But if he releases just Pythona and then, trickles in some of the G.I. Joe movie stuff, that is going to generate excitement here and there. But I do think that he could come out with a big punch of all of it at once. And that really would create some waves and some attention for Reaction Plus. So personally, I'd like him to do it. She's definitely top 5 for me of ones that I want to see from them. But I would also like to see them fix some of the issues that they have, like you spin the swivel arm and suddenly the arm sticks out a little bit more on this side than it does at the bicep. Tiny little things that like aren't quite working with the engineering and just getting the details honed in. I think I've mentioned many times that I have a laundry list of things that I think define G.I. Joe, because obviously in the 80s there were other O-ring figures. What made O-ring G.I. Joe the winner? What made it specifically the best? And people try to change things and enhance things. Like, I did open up my Ghostbusters set, and they're awesome. But did you get those, Adam? Did anybody else get those?
No.
Yeah, it's weird because the hands, how we have like the normal C-grip hands on figures? The Ghostbusters, they've taken them to make the wands in their hands easier. They've actually taken their hands, and all the hands of the figures are like that.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
that's how my hands usually are, though. Is that wrong? I mean, I don't care. I dislike Ghostbusters almost as much as I dislike Crystal Ball. So. Oh
man, I love Ghostbusters.
Oh man, yeah.
Wow, you've picked a fight there, Paddy. Holy crap!
Yeah. I'll say this about what you were just saying about what Brian had said about doing like a whole wave or really jumping into it or whatever. Maybe the tide is turning a little bit because I've tried to give it so much positive promotion over the last 20 years. But like, I was
stop saying numbers.
Impression that just the general fan feeling towards the 87 movie was that this was the jump the shark moment, and that a lot of people actually really dislike it and feel like
Nemesis Immortal Enforcer sold really, really well. So but I think a lot of that hatred is overstated. It's
so, I mean,
old fogies who say, "Oh, Neon 90s is terrible." They all think everything after 82 is terrible. There's always going to be a vocal point of the fandom, and yet when they release the stuff and put it out there, it still sells. Like the Pythona club figure was regarded as one of the better figures they ever did.
Ever.
Yeah.
Orange.
Well, I just keep thinking to myself, though, I'm like, I don't know if that's like a great thing or a horrible thing to go all in on the movie. Like, I almost feel like maybe just do the one figure, see if people love it, and then.
But that's it. You don't need to go all in, because like you don't need to do an O-ring Globulus again because there's but you do need to get. I mean, you probably do to improve him, but he doesn't need to be done immediately after.
Well, and that's kind of a sidebar, but like I don't really want attempts at improving things in that line. I want different versions of things than we already have. So like if they do Globulus in the flight pod, awesome. If they want to do Once a Man Cobra Commander, awesome. If they want to do the Joes in the snowsuits from the beginning, that'd be great. But like I don't need like, you know, here's a better Nemesis Enforcer or whatever. Like I just leave the past in the past. You know, if you can fill in holes, that's really the sweet spot for that line for me.
Yeah. Well, for me, Globulus that can stand on his own is a hole in the vintage line for me. So yeah, I don't disagree. I think
can you not balance him on his tail? Can you not balance him on the tip of his tail?
No, I personally no, I can't.
I mean,
just make a really thick smoothie.
Put it this way: they've already started doing, you know, movie-inspired figures in classified with Once a Man, Cobra Commander, Nemesis Enforcer, Immortal, whatever they're calling him. You don't see Lenny rushing to get every other character from that movie out this year or next year.
Yeah.
So I think Brian is kind of overstating that to an effect. You know, there is a space to put one or two of them out every so often over the course of years.
I think looking at Super 7, how they release stuff, other things that they've got going on at the moment, I've got a funny feeling we might see Joe Reaction Plus movie in a VHS format packaging, because we've seen it with Transformers very recently, and I think they look phenomenal. I think they're great, and they're just, I think they're simply reaction figures. But at the same time, like I think the Reaction Plus in VHS packaging for the movie, sign me up for that. Seriously, like that display would be crazy cool. You could do something on like on the side so they all line up and have like a piece of art from the movie sort of thing. Like it would be amazing. Like I'd be 100% down for something like that. And it feels like it could happen. Like it's very possible.
Well, however it happens, I promise I'll buy at least 5 of each. So hurry it up, Brian.
Yeah. Great shout. Pythona is needed in O-ring form, in any form, really. Just form, please. My number one of the year, I'm going to swing straight back to classified again, just to piss everyone off, is Snake Eyes version 4. Now, this is a name-only reveal currently. I snuck in a little bit of chat about it with Lenny and Tony on the interview, but really, we don't really know what's going to be happening with this one. I imagine we're going to see some things slightly updated. I think Lenny kind of alluded to that. But for the most part, it's going to look exactly what I think we expect it will look like. The only thing he probably won't come with is a real firing rocket launcher. But I've got to say a couple of things to caveat, not caveat, but a couple of things to kind of like add to this. Snake Eyes version 4 is one of my favorite, if not my favorite Snake Eyes figure, style, design, whatever. The version 2, of course, is iconic. The version 1's iconic. The version 3 is all right. Just kidding. The version 3 is iconic.
I don't know. It seemed like there was a video that went out full force the other day that hinted that there was one coming.
Oh, yeah. That was my clickbait. That was my clickbait.
I know it was.
So many people have commented on that saying, oh, clickbait. I'm like, you watch all the videos anyway. Like, for goodness sake. Like, the people that commented
as I discussed earlier on, Chris, no, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. But the people that comment on those things that are commenting like,
I did click on that one though because I saw Snake Eyes version 3, so it was
and Battle Armor Cobra Commander. No, I just wanted to fill the space and also have people go, oh, we get no, we're not. But also, in my defense, right at the beginning, I said, by the way, we're not seeing Snake Eyes version 3 or Battle Armor Cobra Commander in this video. I explain it. So if you are clickbaited into it, you don't have to watch the bloody thing if that's not something you're interested in. Anyway, hilarious stuff. I didn't mean it to be so like obscenely clickbaity at all, and that's what it's turned out to be. And I feel like I'm never doing that again. I am never putting characters on the visual that are not part of the video ever again.
What you should do is put them in every video, and then people will just assume you're like the boy who cried wolf. And then when he
because I don't want to be
in 2026, people won't believe you. They'll be like,
I also
version 3 is coming.
I don't want that clickbait reputation. So done it once now by accident. It's never happening.
You've already got it, Chris. I'm sorry.
Everyone hates me. I know. Snake Eyes version 4. Can't wait for this one. Such an amazing, different take on the character, and something that's always going to blow my mind. Pat, you interested in Snake Eyes version 4, or you're a massive hater because you're a version 3.
Whenever we
I
get
know.
right down to it, I always admit that I really do like this figure. I think it is a lot of fun. I think that what Lenny was talking about, how some of this stuff in your interview, how some of this stuff allowed them at the time, the huge departure from what was going on with the character prior to, allowed them to explore and to really inject some new things. And that's where you find what does work and what doesn't. Sometimes it's dangerous because I think there's some things that aren't good that then end up on figures later. We just talked about that on the weekly. There was something that ended up. No, we talked about it on the
that Union Jack on Quarrel.
That's exactly right. Yep, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Don't do that again. Don't put it on there. So sometimes, revisiting figures and doing things out of the box is not good. But, this one is. And I'm really kind of curious to see if he injects any pink into the sword. Like,
he
the hilt
needs
could have
pink
something
weapons.
on there.
If he does not have pink weapons, it needs to happen with the inevitable retro card release.
Yeah.
They'll probably do that thing.
That's
You know
true.
how they did with the Desert Commando Snake Eyes? They put that kind of very, very thin orange sort of like tip on the blade.
Yeah.
I could see them doing something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious to see how he visits some of those ideas. Does he incorporate anything from like the Hall of Fame figure? Like what does he really look at? And I don't know, you say that we won't have the missile launcher, but it's so like
maybe a grappling hook
in the package is not the thing in the art. Clearly Philip, shout out to Philip who took this picture, and I don't know if he photoshopped his own hand out holding the thing behind Snake Eyes, since it doesn't do that. But a 6-inch figure could.
Never thought of that.
He could come up with like some sort of grappling launcher that goes over his shoulder, and that would be neat to incorporate some of those things into a new figure. I want to see.
He should come with a spring-loaded weapon with the same sort of power that Battlestar Galactica Vipers one did. Really bring it retro style, where you can shoot down low-flying planes and stuff. You use it as a surface-to-air missile against
take a window out from 20 paces. Yeah, exactly. Adam, I know you're a fan of this design, right?
Oh, I'm crazy excited for this figure. This probably would have been on my list too if it wasn't on yours. I mean, I have such childhood nostalgia for this design because there's the Hall of Fame figure. He was in the Atlantis Factor video game. He was in the Marvel comics. I mean, it was just, there was all those like role play accessories. He was like a mascot for that era, so like he's such a definitive looking character for me. I think this is really one of those opportunities where Classified has a chance to sing. Like, use that scale to your advantage. I want to see the goggles be transparent, and I want to see his like scarred face visible underneath. I want to see his weapons all be that like neon orangey pink, but I want the blades to be the same color but metallic. Like, really lean into it and do something interesting with it. I do not want to see
his accessories should also come on a sprue.
I mean, I'd be for it. I do not want to see any carry forwards from the Dollar General figure. So I hope they're not looking at that as inspiration, because even though I do love that figure, that was a kit bag. We want this to be, unique.
What about the 3.0? Was it 3.0? Yeah, the 3.0 release they did quite recently. Would that kind of be any sort of interested to you, like muted colors, bit tactical sort of thing? No.
I think that
you've got to go all in, put all your chips in on that 90s nostalgia.
What's my biggest fear with this figure? So the Superman James Gunn trailer just dropped the other day, and the Superman, I think the trailer looks phenomenal. Everyone if you look at the suit, everyone's praising how he still has the red underwear on the outside and stuff, but then the suit itself still has that very cliche Marvel movie carbon fiber mesh texture all over it. It's over designed. I don't want them to get there's this tendency with Classified to be we have to make this real world, we have to make this updated. I don't want that at all. Don't mute the colors. Don't try to make him tactical. I want this to be the most obnoxious, neon, crazy, weird figure that he couldn't be a silent ninja if he tried.
Right.
And I'd also think that Snake Eyes is a superhero character,
Yeah.
Like he's written as one, like he does
Mhm.
stuff that no other character can do. You can tack into the kind of more superheroic look to him if you want, because it wouldn't be out of place with that character.
Yeah.
Because he is a superhero. He is Batman essentially. You know,
Yeah.
the guy who's super trained to the peak of human condition. He never gets into
Yeah.
a situation he can't get out of. I don't see why you would have to go full on real world, you know, 2030 tactical on him. You
No,
can
I mean,
play up the superhero aspect a bit.
I think that the Desert Snake Eyes was an amazing figure. He was a very cool addition to the line, but like, I can't see many other opportunities where you're going to get to do something this outlandish with Snake Eyes as a character. You know, like he sort of lends himself to being blending in the shadows, dark, mysterious.
And it's not
whatever,
as if it's not as if it's going to shelf warm. It's going to settle.
Oh
No,
no!
yeah.
You know,
Yeah. So
And also, I mean, the next one you're looking at is like the next major one you're looking at is version 3, and version 3 is extraordinarily just very black. So you know, like, but the beauty part with that is you can go nuts with a lot of textures, because that figure has a lot of cool textures on it, that vintage one.
It does.
And then you've got like the chrome elements, or you know, silver, let's say, to kind of really accentuate with that one. But you're right, I think this is a great opportunity to go absolutely all out, or they do because it's going to be one of the standard retail wave figures. They do their usual thing, the kind of update, the tactical, all that kind of stuff, and then we get a retro carded one, maybe in that kind of vibe with with that real the heavy colored deco difference. I don't know. Would you accept that? Because Snake Eyes lends itself to multiple releases of the same thing.
I'd probably buy both of them. If they did that.
They've got me by the short hairs on this one. There's really, you know, like they could re-release this figure 3 times with minor differences, and I'd buy them all. So just make
they could also just homage the Dollar General or color change and do them in green, and I'd probably buy that too.
That's a good idea, actually. Yeah. Anyway, looking forward to it. Can't wait for Snake Eyes version 4. And that brings us to the end of another absolutely ridiculously long episode. But yeah, what I might do is actually cut that other conversation we had out and make it an entirely separate episode, like a talking point.
Oh, I had tons more to talk about then. I wanted to get into how it's not just a G.I. Joe problem, it's an industry problem. Like, where's the space for all of these toys that are coming out?
Let's definitely do that then. Let's get into it in a monthly sort of fashion, because I think that'd be a really good conversation to have, genuinely.
Are we all going to sign an agreement that we're going to remain friends after before we
start No. No more friendships. This is the kind of conversation that destroys.
This is a real boat burning.
Yeah.
So we get the top 3 reasons why everyone else in the call is an asshole. That's what.
Yeah.
That's what the next top 3 is.
That would be because I'm the one that puts it all together. So sorry guys. This is everyone else is a. No, not at all. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this episode, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. Despite even that little heated argument, I think was fine. I enjoyed it.
You know what? People say we're always too positive on this show, so it's never a bad thing to show that we actually do have criticisms.
By the way,
and so on.
We do have hate within our hearts.
That's such BS, by the way. When people go like, "Oh, shills this" and like positive that, I'm like, you do not watch anything we put out, because we get frigging critical with things. Pat gets very critical with things on the weekly, for a start. Do you not, Pat?
Mm-hmm.
No, I do get very critical.
100%.
Yeah,
and
sometimes. Sometimes it's difficult to be critical, but your love of things is very genuine. I think that your range is like it. No, it is. It is like whenever you're excited about something, it's not an on-camera only thing. It's an all-the-time genuine. I think your version of not liking stuff though is like lukewarm. It's great that it exists. I love it. I'm not going to buy it. All the way up to give it to me. But what I'm saying is that you do generally really genuinely like this stuff.
Thank you.
For it.
I appreciate that. And for those that care in the comments, because there's going to be quite a few, I'll see you. I'll see you in the comments, and I will talk to you about it. No, anyway, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you guys jumping on and taking your time to do this. Happy New Year to all of you on the screen right now, and of course, Happy New Year to everyone watching. We'll see. Well, we're going to be, obviously, we've got loads more to come this year in 2025. Loads more planned episodes, like the one that Pat mentioned about everyone else is a douchebag. That's going to be happening.
And our Joe June, your Haslab conversation.
Yeah, we've got lots to come.
You can cram your classified Rolling Thunder up your ass.
That is exactly what that's going to be called. Anyway,
well, and on that note, my real number one wish for 2025 is that everyone has a great year.
Oh, that's terrible.
Oh,
That's gross. I disagree. Just kidding. Full force.
I hope everybody except Classified Crystal Ball has a great year. I hope you shelf one.
That's amazing.
He's not going to be on a shelf anywhere.
That's true.
It's Walmart.
I hope
maybe in a warehouse.
I hope you. I'm coining a new term. I hope you pulse swarm.
Pulse swarm. That's gross. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the Full Force New Year's Day special. Have a wonderful 2025. We hope you had a very wonderful 2024. Stay fresh, cheese bags, and as always, after 3, you know what to do. 1, 2, 3. Force! Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.